welcome to Enquire to Choir. My name is Eva and I'm here to help you, fellow choir people. In this video, I will do my best to help you plan and execute your choir rehearsal. But first, a disclaimer. There are so many different kinds of choirs. For example, all my choirs just sing. All the choirs in my country just sing. But as my constant social media research keeps showing me, a lot of choirs also dance. And when it comes to church and religious choirs, praise, hymns, prayers, worship is a very big part of their rehearsals as well, not just a part of the performance. I want this video to be as helpful as it could be to all of you out there. So I decided to handle this topic this way. I will talk just about the singing rehearsal, but I strongly believe that you could apply all of this to the dancing part. And when you watch the video, you will see what I'm talking about, and I think you will tend to agree. Also, in the end of the video, there will be some additional general advice, so you can find your own way of doing these rehearsals. So let's start with the topic, how to do a choir rehearsal. When you start thinking about how to do a choir rehearsal, you have to be aware that you actually have to plan every single rehearsal in advance. You have to have an idea what the rehearsal is going to look like. That also means that you have to know which music numbers you are going to work on and in which order you are going to work on them at the rehearsal. To be able to do that, it helps to know about the 3 stages of learning a music number. You probably know about this already, but nobody has ever put it in those words for you before. It's just saying that every music piece you learn has 3 stages. The first stage is reading the notes and reading the score. The second is being able to sing the whole piece all the way through without any problems. And the third stage is perfecting the score. Notice that I didn't say the final stage. What is this useful for? Well, you're probably aware that the human brain has to play mind games to keep the concentration up. It's the thing about learning in general. You have to keep your brain active and aware to be able to learn, and it is the same with learning new music numbers and perfecting them. You can have a 5-hour rehearsal without coming out of it successfully because the attention and the reaction levels of your choir singers were poor. Of course, you can't always help some things. Sometimes it's just a bad rehearsal. But the key to having an efficient rehearsal is to think about the order of things you work on during the rehearsal. And this is where the 3 stages come into play. You probably have various music scores you have to work on and several things you have to get done during that rehearsal. My advice would be to analyze the pieces you're working on and divide them into groups by the stage they're in. For example, if you're just reading a new score, you're just reading the music sheet for the first time, that is obviously a piece in stage 1 because the first goal for it is to read it through. If you have already read the notes but you can't actually sing it all the way through without problems, your goal is to be able to do that. So that's the piece in the stage 2. If you can sing it all the way through and it's going well, you have to perfect it. That is a piece in stage 3. When you put your current music scores into groups, you have a clearer picture of what your goal for the rehearsal is or should be. Because obviously you can't skip stages. You can't move to stage 2 without actually doing and going through the stage 1. You can mix them. You can be reading the second part of the piece for the first time, so it's in stage 1, but you are able to sing the first part of the score without any problems. So it's in the stage 2. But in general, to finish the piece, you have to go through all of them. You have to go by stages. And when you have stages, then you can plan the order of events during the rehearsal. When it comes to the order, To be fair, every choir is different. This is just a suggestion and the way I do my choir rehearsals, which proved to be efficient. But you know your choir best, so you can mend this the way you wish. I start with the warm-up. It's very important to me. I think it's very useful. It can solve a lot of issues when it comes to your choir singing. And it's a good way for your choir to gather and to start concentrating for the rehearsal. I usually do just a hello and welcome to the rehearsal and just start playing the first exercise. After the warm-up, there comes drill and voice culture and singing. This is actually the second part of the warm-up, but I wanted to address it separately. I have issues when people say they don't have the time to work on their choir's vocal technique. I thoroughly disagree with that because I think that if you do a few minutes of specifically designed exercises every rehearsal, it can just do wonders for it. So don't miss this part. It's just a few minutes. Next thing I do is to start working on a number which is in stage 2, which we have done the previous rehearsal. This is to have some consistency with learning a new number. If we did a music piece the previous rehearsal and we've read it, but we don't know how to actually sing it all the way through, that is stage 2, and I start with that piece. I like to do this stage first, stage 2, because I want my choir to actually have a feeling they are improving and they're actually singing as a choir. If you start immediately with the stage 1 numbers, reading the score, their attention will be lower because their brains are not interested enough for it yet. Then I go on to taking up a new music score, which is in stage 1. Why now? Because your choir members are now fresh and warm, but they're not tired yet. Their ability to make progress is the highest now. After that, we come to perfecting one of the music numbers already in the repertoire, stage 3. I'm of the opinion that every rehearsal you have to perfect one of your music numbers if you are able to do so, of course. Why? Because there are a lot of choirs who know a lot of music, but none of the music numbers are actually ever done. None of the music numbers ever go to the stage 3, and stage 3 is very underestimated. To have a good performance, it's not just about singing all the way through. It's not just singing from the beginning to the end. There are a lot of details and you have to actually work on them. And that requires giving the time to work on it. And to finish the rehearsal, I really try repeating the music piece which is in stage 2, which we started the rehearsal with. I'm a firm believer this is crucial. To end the rehearsal with connecting all the dots from the first piece you did, just to see how much it has improved, and to push your choir to really remember what they have done at the beginning of the rehearsal, and not just to forget all about it the moment they step out of the rehearsal. Additionally, it also motivates them for the next rehearsal, because they can actually see they made some progress. What about a break? Everyone will tell you a break is a must, and I agree, but there are some exceptions. For example, my mixed choir only has one rehearsal a week, and it's later in the evening, so they're already tired when they come to the rehearsal. They want no break because they want to save their time. They want to do as much as they can. They would rather push through and go without the extra 15 minutes just to be able to finish earlier. But a break in general is a great thing and it's needed. So the question is when to put it. In general, I think after reading the new piece, because that is the most grueling part of the practice. So making a break after that is a good way to go. During the break, make them take a few steps to walk a little just to reset because it's important, and be sure to air the room. That is often overlooked. How much time for each part of the rehearsal? You can mend this, of course, but here is my suggestion when the rehearsal is 2 hours or 120 minutes long. So for the warm-up and the drills, I take about 15 minutes. On working on stage 2 numbers, I take around 25 minutes. To read the new numbers or the stage 1 numbers, I take around 35 minutes. For the break after it, 5 to 10 minutes. I usually say it's 5 minutes, but it turns out to be 10. Perfecting the scores or working on stage 3 numbers, 25 minutes. And for ending the rehearsal and repeating the stage 2 number, 10 minutes. And in the end, some advice. Make your choir take their music sheet before the warm-up. Teach them to do that every time. No walking during the warm-up. And there should be no necessity for walking across the room during the rehearsal. At the beginning of the rehearsal, tell them what the rehearsal is going to look like and what are the goals for it. It helps the choir members stay motivated and to see the end and the goal. If you are a church choir, a religious choir, I suppose that you start your rehearsals with worship, prayers, praise, etc. My advice is to maybe not just do it at the beginning of the rehearsal for a longer period, but to divide it in shorter periods of time during the rehearsal, during the whole rehearsal, to do it. When you start the rehearsal, you can, for example, pray for a shorter time if your religion allows you to do that. And then during the rehearsal, you can take up the time to do it. Before starting each phase of the rehearsal, you can say praise, for example. Be aware that you can actually analyze every hymn, the meaning of your hymns. You can talk about it, why you are singing them, why they need to sing them at that service, what they mean and how they work, and what is their message. To me, that is also worship. But again, I want to respect your religion, so be careful about this. Think about doing it through the whole rehearsal, not just at the beginning, because at the beginning, everyone is the freshest. It seems to me that if you can use that time to actually learn something new for the service, it could be appreciated. You can, of course, throw away the whole plan for the rehearsal when in crisis. The thing about rehearsals is you can plan them and then you arrive to the rehearsal and then you see that half of them, for example, are not there, half of the choir members, or they're all there but their concentration is terrible. What can you do? Adapt. If you're in crisis and very short on time, you can actually go without the warm-up. I know this is a very controversial opinion and I do this very rarely, but if the extra 15 minutes for singing are going to make a difference, I say, okay, we're not going to warm up today, or not as long as we usually do, but be aware that your voices are not warmed up, so ease into singing during this rehearsal. And finally, plan your rehearsals a few in advance, if not all of them. I will actually do a video about this in the future because I think this requires a separate video. And that's it. I really hope this video was helpful to you. Give it a thumbs up if it was. Thank you for watching. If you wish to see more from Enquire to Choir, you can subscribe and check out all the other videos here. And I want to say thank you to Victor, who actually asked for this video to be made and for this topic to be addressed. This is actually a first one I ever got, so I really hope it was helpful, and I'm sorry I had to wait for it because I was really short on time. Conduct well, conductors, and I'll see you next time. Bye!